Biztech's marketing show. Together today, we have our guest, Rachel Scheel. She's the Senior Vice President of Talent Development and DEI at NASDAQ-listed Criteo. Now, we will explore the importance of sustainable practices in the advertising industry and why companies should prioritize sustainability in their advertising strategies. Now, Rachel is going to give us insights into key steps that companies can take to embark on their sustainability journey in the field of digital advertising. Now, the unique considerations and challenges this industry faces, and also we will discuss the future of sustainability in digital advertising, including anticipated trends and developments in 2023-2024. Now, with that, Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
Now, for a start, Rachel, could you give us an overview of Criteo and its presence in the Asia-Pacific markets?
Yeah, sure. So we're a global leader in commerce media, which is the next wave of digital advertising. We basically make sure the right ad gets to the right person on the right device at the right time. And so the work that we do connects over 22,000 marketers, thousands of media owners to deliver a richer consumer experience in media advertising. So from product discovery to purchase.
Okay, could you give us some examples of that? Because I think this is an area that not many people are familiar with.
Okay, so the ads you get on your mobile device or your computer screen, we use artificial intelligence and data technology to ensure that those ads are directed to the consumer experience. So what you're seeing is tailored to your likes, your needs, your context. And again, it's something we're very proud of in terms of how do we use our technology to provide a more impactful advertising experience and a more engaging advertising experience.
Now, sustainability is something that's a buzzword across industries, but you don't really think about sustainability in the digital advertising space. It's probably something that you're more associated with your previous employer. You used to work for GE. That has a huge footprint, but you don't think of sustainability in a digital advertising context. Perhaps, Rachel, you could give us a 101 on sustainability from a digital marketing context.
Yeah, it's interesting because the digital industry does have quite a large impact on the environment. And that includes everything from creating, delivering, and managing the digital ad campaigns that reach your mobile device or your computer screen. And what we're really focusing on is how do we reduce the impact, the environmental impact, but also the social and ethical impacts that occur with the digital advertising. We're actually responsible for a significant amount of carbon emissions. So there was a study done by 55, which said that digital activities contribute to about 4 to 5% of global greenhouse gases every year.
And that's a phenomenal number.
And it's meant to double. So by 2040, it could reach up to 10%. So there's a big opportunity for companies in this industry to align together to really support sustainable practices and looking at things like reducing waste, fighting against climate change, reducing carbon emissions, but also promoting more responsible and ethical advertising. So reducing ad wastage.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out then a very simple example just to give our audience context. So one of the things that is really low-lying fruit in terms of how resource-heavy the digital advertising sector is really around the processing power that is associated with serving up digital ads. And so you've got to think of data centers and servers and the heat that's generated, and that really impacts the environment really heavily. Now, Rachel, what else really are really heavy impacts on the environment in the industry from the industry?
Yeah, so yes, the data centers themselves. So if you think about a data center and how they heat or cool the equipment in the data center, and again, when we talk about things like ad wastage, if you're getting ads on your device that you're just ignoring, that's a waste of obviously the energy that that data center is using on a day-to-day basis. And again, you're getting that. And we even look at the end user. So how much somebody is having to flip through on their mobile to move past those ads. So again, it's not only the data centers that are creating the energy wastage, it's when the ads aren't reaching the right consumer, we're using more energy consumption to make sure that those ads are kind of producing too many, they're going to too many consumers.
And this is interesting, right? The average person like me never thinks of all of that in terms of having a carbon footprint, because when we think of advertising, we think of pamphlets and brochures that have obviously emissions, and because of the cost of producing that and the trees that are cut down and so forth. But we don't think of how big an impact this really is in terms of ads served up that really don't need to be served up.
Exactly. And even, within the data centers themselves, there's a lot of standards that are being implemented around how much cooling is done. So on average, a data center, most operators will operate it at around 22 degrees, which requires a lot of energy to cool the equipment. In Singapore, for example, they're applying new standards where they're looking at increasing providing a roadmap to increase the degrees that those data centers operate at. So for every 1% increase, you can see, a 4 to 5% reduction in carbon emissions.
Absolutely, because I think the goal now, and data centers are normally kept closer to 20 degrees than 26 degrees. And what they're looking for now in the Singapore context, if I remember correctly, is they're going to move towards gradually moving the temperature within data centers up to 26 degrees. And that's going, as you said, 1 degree is going to have a massive impact on energy consumption.
Yeah. And you don't think that that small amount would have such a large impact, but it absolutely does.
Now, Rachel, I want to take one step back and talk about sustainability in the context of, is it really an issue in advertising? Is this really not only driven by the consumer, not only driven by the organization, but really consumers are demanding this, isn't it?
It's becoming a much bigger issue. I mean, again, consumers are being more aware. I don't know if you've been on sites where you're looking at different products and there's little tags where it will say green efficient or climate efficient. Consumers are really looking for products that are creating a more positive impact on the environment. So, it's not only the right thing to do from a business perspective, but there's growing awareness, there's growing support for companies that are really working towards this direction. And our employees are saying it too. I mean, our green community is actively involved in championing efforts for us. We do a hackathon every year. A lot of the hackathon projects are looking at the way we do business and how we can improve our positive impact on the environment.
Okay, and that's an interesting thing, because you took my next question for me in terms of what is Criteo doing in order to balance this whole sustainability with business growth and client satisfaction. So obviously your employees are driving that. Are your clients doing the same thing as well?
Yeah, I mean, we work very closely with our clients. As we partner with clients, we look at their activities. We promote sustainable practices to our clients to find sort of common ground to align our business objectives and our environmental responsibility. And again, clients are also demanding the same of us. So it's a two-way street.
Now, Rachel, then, if I'm a C-suite and I'm a CEO of a large company, and I want to engage my agencies and so forth, in fact, my own internal team, to be more efficient, I'm looking at everything else. And then suddenly I realize, hang on here, I've not looked at digital advertising, because this is creating a far bigger footprint than I realized. They watch this show, they say, hey, we've got to do something about this. what are some key steps that companies can take to embark on their sustainability journey in digital advertising?
Yeah, I mean, if they haven't already, the first step is conducting what we call an environmental impact assessment. So that starts by looking at the impact your operations for digital advertising is having on the environment. It identifies high energy waste consumption, your carbon emissions, waste generation, opportunities to really set a baseline for sustainable goals and targets. And that baseline then allows you to set some improvement areas. Again, many companies are developing carbon calculators for digital advertising agencies, and that enables you to look at the footprint of your ad campaigns.
And I want to use one example of, I think, which could be a competitor of yours, ad tech firm Goodloop, right? They have an ethical ad tracker they launched this year. And amazingly, when I was doing my research, I found that the typical online ad campaign emits 5.4 tons of carbon dioxide in the UK. And I thought that was just mind-blowing.
And that's why, again, it's important to optimize targeting and delivery of those ads. So when you think about, how you target the ad to the consumer, as I said before, it minimizes wasted ad impressions on the end consumer. It reduces energy consumption, and you can use data analytic, programmatic advertising, AI. Again, those are the kind of opportunities you can focus on to ensure that where you're advertising reaches and engages consumers rather than having that sort of scroll through.
Rachel, for whatever the good intentions, I want to do the right thing, but then there's often barriers or challenges that the industry faces in terms of adopting sustainable practices. Could you share with us some of the challenges that the industry is facing and how it can be overcome?
I think the number one is lack of awareness. So most companies or many companies might not understand the complete impact that they're having. So the advertising impact on the environment or even the benefits. So that in itself makes it very difficult to gain buy-in from key stakeholders, maybe C-suite or board. And also, this takes investment. It's investment in resources, it's investment in time. And the time investment itself, you can't underestimate that. Um, I think, within digital advertising, it's a very complex ecosystem. There's different layers, platforms, and different technologies. And depending on how you engage with data centers, again, that could be quite challenging to sort of make that change. And again, with Criteo, we partner with data centers that focus on renewable energy resources.
And the other thing, and I want to interrupt you here, if I'm a CEO, I'm looking at this again, we take that example further. I want to be able to measure and track this. Are there specific metrics and frameworks that I could use to monitor the progress and ensure transparency?
Yeah, so there's a number of frameworks. I mean, we are going towards implementing science-based target initiatives. And again, that then sets out clear targets for us. We have to submit our goals against set standards under the SBTI, Science-Based Target Initiative guidelines. And again, there's a number of ways companies can do this. There's also a fear, obviously, about putting it out publicly. These are our targets. This is where we're going to reduce. This is what we're committing to.
Absolutely, you're putting a big target in your head.
Yeah, it's a big leap. But again, that gives us the opportunity to demonstrate our commitment at a company-wide level towards this, and it ensures we're complying with relevant legislations. And there's more compliance and legislation coming around this. There's going to be more standards set where companies are going to be obliged to start really, standing up and making these efforts. So we're looking to get, 4 to 5 steps ahead of that.
Now, Rachel, looking ahead, what are some key trends and development that you anticipate in this space that is obviously evolving very, very quickly.
So when I'm just making sure I'm answering your question right. So there's a lot of new technology that's coming. So more energy efficient technology, things like hardware, data centers, infrastructure, and those technologies are really being implemented to ensure that they generate less power, less heat, they optimize energy, and again, we have the opportunity to partner with those companies and those technologies to ensure that we're working, we're ensuring that we're reducing our carbon footprint. Um, Data analytics and optimization, as I said, like, so how do we really use the most up-to-date analytics to think about the channels or the demographics, or where we target ads. And again, we're really looking at best practices across the industry as well.
Rachel, it's been a fascinating conversation. I've really learned a lot. And it's really opened my eyes to look at things a little bit more differently. But before we leave, any final thoughts or key messages you'd like to leave the audience with?
Look, I think, for us, our strategy is really a collaborative approach. It's top down, it's very heavily supported by our CEO and the C-suite. And, again, we have this clearly on our company-wide roadmap. At the same time, it's also a bottom-up approach. We have our employees really engaged. We have our active green community. In the last 2 weeks, we led what we called Impact Weeks, where we had over 400 Criteos out there in the streets, cleaning up waste, picking up cigarettes and rubbish, and doing more societal impact projects. And again, we listen to our community group around what we should or shouldn't be doing. So I think it's a commitment company-wide, and something we're really proud of because it's a part of our culture. And again, I think our industry has an obligation to do the right thing. This is not just a tick box exercise. It's not just something that we're following because in some countries there are compliance rules. It's the right thing to do as a business because it's our planet. We all live here and we want to live here and we want to see generations to come live here.
Rachel, thank you very much. It's been fascinating. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
We've been speaking to Rachel Scheel. She's the Senior Vice President of Talent Development and DEI at Criteo. I'm Brian Fernandez, and this has been Biztech's Marketing Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.